Baha al-Din Muhammad I Walad, more popularly known as Sultan Walad, was the eldest son of Jalal Al-Din Rumi, Persian poet and Sufi, and one of the founders of the Mawlawiya order. Life and impact. He was given the name of his grandfather Sultan al-Ulama Baha al-Din Walad. Maulana Jalal Al-Din Rumi sent Sultan Walad and his brother Jalal Al-Din Muhammad to Aleppo and Damascus for the study of religious sciences. Sultan Walad was deeply trusted by Rumi, and it was him that Rumi sent to seek Shams Tabrizi after the disappearance of Shams. Sultan Walad married the daughter of Salah al-Din Zaqub, Fatima Khatun. He had 2 daughters by her and 1 son. Sultan Walad, at the insistence of his entourage, took up the succession which, at his father's death, he had declined in favor of Husam al-Din. With Sultan Walad, the Mawlawiya order starts in the true sense of the word, since he gathered the followers of his father around himself and organized the order. He also erected a mausoleum for his father, which also became the center of his order. He died at the advanced age of nearly 90 years on 10 Rajab 712, 12th November 1312 in Konya, and was buried next to his father. For nearly 50 years he had lived in the shadow of his famous father, whose personality had determined the life and work of his son even beyond his death. Written work. Sultan Walad, like his fathers, was prolific and has left considerable Persian literary heritage. Ibtida-Nama, the first Persian poetic verse book of Sultan Walad, in the style Maithnawi, is the Ibtida-Nama, also called Walad-Nama Amat Hnawi Waladi, composed around 1291. It is written in the meter of the Hadike of Sanai. It constitutes an important source for the biographies of Baha al-Din and Maulana, as well as for the early history of the order. It chronicles the history of the Mawlawiya order as well, focusing primarily on Rumi. It also describes the predecessors and successors of Rumi. One of the students of Rumi, Salah al-Din Zaqub, who had a close spiritual relationship with Sultan Walad, is also mentioned. This work provides a first-hand account by Rumi's son, who was very close to many of the events described in the book. Overall, it is a hagiographical book, and promotes an image of Rumi as a miracle-working saint. It also provides a first-hand account of the Mawlawiya order and the major personages associated with its history, including Baha al-Din, Burhan al-Din, Shams, Rumi, Salah al-Din Zaqub, Hosam al-Din, and finally Sultan Walad. The work contains over 9,000 lines of poetry in Persian. A first critical edition was produced by the Iranian scholar Jalal Al-Din Rumi in 1937. A French translation appeared in 1988 through the efforts of Jamshid Mortazavi and Eva David Raymirovich as La Parole Secrète, L'Enseignement du Maître Sui Rumi. Ribab-Nama, a Persian Maithnawi, composed at the behest of a notable. Within 5 months of the year 701,301 in the Meta Ramal of his father's Maithnawi, it contains 7,745 lines in Persian, 35 in Arabic, 22 in Greek, and 157 in Turkish. A critical edition was prepared by Ali Sultani Gordfar Marzi in 1980 and published in Montreal as a collaborative effort between McGill University's Institute of Islamic Studies and the University of Tehran under the title Ribab-Nama, Arizona. Sultan Walad, Farzandi Maulana Jalal Al-Din Mawlavi. Sultan Walad composed the Ribab-Nama between April and August 1301 at the request of certain saint whom Sultan Walad repeatedly praises in the text. This man of God approached Sultan Walad with the suggestion that since had already produced a Maithnawi in the meter of Sanai's Hadike, he should now set to work on a Maithnawi in the same meter as the Maithnawi of his father, Rumi. Sultan Walad begins this work in an imitation the song of the reed flute at the beginning of the Maithnawi, but instead has the Rabab start the opening tale. Here in the cry and wail of the Rabab 100 chapters on the depth of love. At one point Sultan Walad references his father's work as being sent down, suggesting he regarded Rumi's writing as quasi-divinely inspired. Inti-Hinama. The Inti-Hinama is another Persian Maithnawi. It was composed for the purposes, and as a kind of summary of the first two Maithnawi. It contains about 8,300 lines of poetry. Divan-i-Walad. The Divan of Sultan in Persian contains 9,256 ghazals and qasida, and 455 quatrains. Approximately there are 12,500 lines. Sultan Walad describes this as his first literary work, but he continued to add to it until his death. The Divan has been published under the title Divan-e-Sultan Walad, ed. Sednafisi, a sample ghazal. Ma'rif-i-Waladi, also called Al-Azra Ldj Al-Aliyah. It is a Persian prose work in a style approaching the spoken language and containing accounts of Sultan Walad's thoughts and words. The title is an evocation of his grandfather's work by the same title. An uncritical edition appeared as an appendix to an undated Iran print of Maulana's Fihi Ma'rif-ih. A scholarly edition was prepared by Najib Mail-i-Harawi, Ma'rif, Tehran 1367–1988. A collection of 56 of his sermons and lectures in the book demonstrates that he spoke from the pulpit in a straightforward and engaging manner. Sultan Walad punctuated his discourses with lines of verse from Persian poets such as Sani Atta and his own father, Rumi. The Ma'rif has been published under the title Ma'rif-e Baha al-Din Muhammad b. Jalal Al-Din Muhammad Borki Manshurbe Sultan Walad, edited by Najib Mehravi. Turkish and Greek poems. Besides approximately 38,000 lines of Persian poetry in Sultan Walad's work, in the Rabab-Nama there are 22 lines in Greek and 157 in Turkish. In the Divan-i-Walad, there are 15 ghazals in Turkish besides the approximately 9,200 ghazals and qasida in Persian, and 4 ghazals in Greek. In the Ibad-Nama, there are 27 verses in Greek. Thus Sultan Walad composed approximately 300 verses in Greek and Turkish. Sultan Walad admits to his poor knowledge of Greek and Turkish. For example, in his Ebshad-Nama, Sultan Walad admits twice in Persian after some of the lines in Greek. Turkish. Translation: let go of the languages of Greek and Turkish because you lack knowledge in these two, thus speak in Persian and Arabic, since in these two, you recite very well. And also elsewhere in Ghazal in his Divan, he writes, if I knew Turkish I would have brought 1 to 1,000, but when you listen to Persian, I tell the secrets much better. He also says, if I had known Turkish I would have told you the secrets that God had imparted on me. According to Mehmed Fuad Köprülüz, the Turkish poems are written in a very crude and primitive manner and with a very defective and rudimentary versification replete with zihaf and amala. Also according to Mehmed Fuad Köprülü, Sultan Walad's motivation in writing Turkish poetry, just as it was with composing and reciting Persian poetry, was to raise the religious consciousness of the people of Anatolia, to guide them and instill in them a sense of the greatness of Maulana, and the fact he occasionally resorted to Turkish derives from his fear that a large majority who did not understand Persian would be deprived of these teaching. Also, the Greek verses gives us one of the earliest specimen of Islamic poetry in the Greek languages, and some of the earliest extensive attestation of Cappadocian Greek legacy. Sultan Walad was instrumental in laying down the Mawlawiya order and expanding the teaching of his father throughout Anatolia and the rest of the Muslim world, according to Professor Anne Marie Schimmel.